The cockpit shook like it had a personal grudge. Warning lights strobed red across the dash, turning the whole cabin into a cheap nightclub for people who hated breathing. The cargo pilot, Jace Rook, licensed professional, semi-functional adult, and part-time bad decision collector, stared at the control panel as if insults could fix it. "Okay," he muttered, voice dry enough to sand wood. "We're doing this the hard way." Classic. The ship, barely a ship, more like a flying storage unit with delusions of grandeur, screeched through atmosphere. The hull groaned, the straps on the cargo rattled, and something behind him thumped like an angry refrigerator. A new warning appeared: autopilot, nope. Jace slapped the console. Same. Outside the view slit, the planet was a smear of storm gray and jagged black ridges. Forbidden World markers had flashed on his NAV for the last 30 minutes, but the storm had eaten his signal, the engine had eaten itself, and the universe, apparently, had eaten its manners. The right thruster coughed. The ship dipped. Jace yanked the manual stick, compensating the way you compensate when you've lived a life of constant, low-grade regret. He didn't crash so much as he arrived violently. The landing skids tore into the ground. The cargo unit bounced once, twice, then skidded sideways through gravel and glassy rock, carving a trench that would impress archaeologists and disappoint insurance adjusters. The cockpit slammed him forward, straps biting into his chest like a judgmental ant. Then silence. Not peaceful silence. The kind that follows a fight in a bar where everyone is checking if they still have teeth. Jace blinked. His ears rang. A thin stream of smoke drifted from a panel that had definitely been important 5 minutes ago. He patted himself down, counting limbs. Head. Arms. Legs. Dignity missing, but that's normal. A hiss of air told him the cabin wasn't sealed properly. The oxygen readout flickered between fine and "You have 7 minutes, good luck." He yanked open a locker, grabbed a breathing mask, and fitted it with the impatient practice of a man who had worn too many masks, some for survival, some for customer service. Behind him, another thump. A softer sound followed. A groan, high, strained, not human. Jace froze. His eyes flicked to the cargo partition. The manifest in his head tried to reassure him: medical supplies, food bricks, replacement parts, emergency beacons, nothing alive. Then the partition door clicked and slid open from the other side. Jace stared. "That's new." A figure stepped into the cockpit with the careful stiffness of someone moving on sheer pride. She was humanoid, but not human, tall, lean, and furred in a sleek copper-gray coat that caught the emergency lights like brushed metal. Fox-like ears angled back with irritation, and a long tail trailed behind her, twitching in short, angry snaps. Her clothing wasn't practical crash survivor so much as royal who expects the ground to apologize. Layered fabric, subtle armor plating, ceremonial trimming, everything about her screamed expensive. Even her glare looked like it had a budget. Jace's brain tried to process. His mouth beat it to the finish line. He said. "Welcome to, whatever this is." She looked him up and down like he'd tracked mud into her palace. Her gaze lingered on his patched flight suit, the scuffed boots, the duct tape on his sleeve. Then she spoke in near-perfect trade common, crisp and cutting. "You are the pilot." "Technically," Jace said. "I was the pilot before gravity bullied me." Her nostrils flared. "This vessel was not meant to land here." "Well," Jace said, "you're like a living weather app." She took one more step and winced, the motion brief but obvious. Her hand pressed to her side. Dark fluid, almost black with a violet tint, seeped between her fingers. Jace's sarcasm stumbled for half a second. "You're bleeding." "Yes," she snapped, as if that was his fault too. "I noticed." He glanced at the open cargo partition. "You were in there?" "It was the safest compartment." She adjusted her posture, stubbornly upright. "Until you attempted to bury us. I prefer unplanned terrain docking." He nodded at the blood. "You need a med patch." "I need extraction." Her eyes hardened. And I need you to stop speaking like a malfunctioning comedian. Jace reached for the first aid kit anyway. I only do that under stress, which is inconvenient because I'm always under stress. He peeled open a sterile patch, scanning her quickly. No visible fractures, but she was favoring one leg. The blood was worrying. The pallor under her fur was worse. He moved closer. She recoiled. Hold on, Jace said, palms out. I'm not trying to steal your crown, you're... She hesitated, as if saying her name to him was already a concession. Princess Soren of House Vale. Jace paused with the med patch halfway to her side. Okay. That's a lot of syllables for someone who's currently leaking. Her ears flicked forward, insulted. He shrugged. I'm Jace. House. Rent due. Soren stared at him like she was trying to determine if humans were all born like this or if it was a rare defect. Apply it, she commanded. Yes, Your Highness. He pressed the patch to the wound. The smart gel activated, sealing and stabilizing with a faint blue shimmer. She hissed, jaw tight, but didn't pull away. Pain levels? Jace asked. Acceptable. That's a royal word for awful. She ignored him and looked around the cockpit. Where is your distress beacon? Right now, Jace said. Probably praying. He opened a compartment and pulled out a beacon the size of a brick. The display was cracked. The antenna bent at a tragic angle. He tapped it. Nothing. He tapped it harder. It sparked, then died again. Good, Jace said. It's in the denial stage. Soren's tail lashed. Then you will repair it. I will attempt to repair it, he corrected. And it will attempt to disappoint me. She took a shaky breath, controlling herself with the kind of discipline only royalty or deeply repressed people possessed. Listen carefully, human. My people will search for me. Your people, Jace said. The ones who hid you in my cargo hold? Her eyes sharpened. My people did not hide me. Jace leaned back against his seat, arms crossing. So you just wandered in and asked the ship nicely? Soren's silence lasted just long enough to confirm everything. Jace exhaled through his mask. Okay. So you were stowed. That means someone wanted you moved quietly, and I was the delivery idiot. I was being transported under secrecy, she said coldly. For my protection. Uh-huh, Jace said. And the part where nobody told me the cargo could glare? Her expression turned razor thin. Do you always speak this much? Only when I'm frightened, confused, and in the presence of mysterious royalty with bleeding issues, he said. So, yes. Soren's gaze drifted to the cracked windshield slit, where the storm-dark landscape waited like a bad idea you couldn't unthink. Jagged ridges, scattered boulders, mist crawling low along the ground. Lightning flashed in the far distance, illuminating spires that looked like the planet had grown teeth. This world, she said, voice quieter, is not meant for the unfit. Jace snorted. Well, lucky for us, I'm extremely unfit. She shot him a look. He held up a hand. Mentally. Emotionally. Financially. Take your pick. Soren swallowed and shifted her weight. Her leg trembled. My injury will slow us. Us? Jace echoed. She stared at him like the concept of solitude offended her. You will escort me. Jace blinked once. Twice. Then he laughed, short, disbelieving. Princess, I'm a cargo pilot. My job description doesn't include royal escort. My job description barely includes dignity. You are alive, she said. You can walk. You will. Jace glanced at the dead beacon, the smoking panel, and the planet outside that looked eager to make his obituary interesting. Okay, he said slowly. We can talk about a plan. But first, why were you in my ship at all? Soren's jaw tightened. The pride stayed, but something behind it cracked, just a hairline fracture. Because my kind does not carry the weak. Jace stared. That's your official policy? It is our law. She spoke as if reciting scripture. The weak are a burden. They are proof of failure. They are left behind. Jace's eyebrows lifted. So you got hurt and they did what was necessary. She snapped too fast, too sharp. Her ears flattened. Do not speak of it with that tone. What tone? Jace asked. The one where I'm horrified, or the one where I'm trying not to die and also not get arrested by alien royalty? Soren's breathing quickened. Anger was easier than fear. My people are strong. We survive because we do not indulge weakness. Jace looked at her wound, at the tremor in her leg, at the way she held herself upright like collapsing would be a betrayal. He'd known plenty of humans like that. Different species, same stubborn suffering. He leaned closer, voice dropping. So they dropped you because you couldn't walk? Her eyes flicked away. Jace nodded, almost to himself. Yeah. I've seen that move before. Humans do it too. We just call it policy or budget cuts. Soren snapped her gaze back. You are not my equal, human. Never said I was, Jace replied. But I know a thing or two about being treated like disposable cargo. Her tail stilled. That landed. Jace stood, grabbed a compact pack from the storage locker, and started stuffing it with necessities: water cartridges, ration bars, a med kit, a flare, a coil of strap line, an emergency thermal sheet. His movements were quick, practiced. The kind of practice you get after surviving too many, one-time, disasters. Soren watched him. You are preparing to leave the ship. Ship's a coffin with opinions, Jace said. If the oxygen drops or something decides to chew through the hull, I'd rather be outside with choices. And your beacon? I'll take it, Jace said, yanking it free and shoving it into the pack. Maybe I can kick it enough to work later. Soren frowned. Kicking is not repair. It is the human ritual of negotiation, he said. Our machines respond to violence and threats. She looked genuinely unsettled by that. Primitive. Accurate, Jace said, then slung the pack over his shoulder. He turned to face her and assessed the distance to whatever higher ground might exist in this nightmare landscape. Soren took one step and nearly buckled. Jace caught her elbow instinctively. She stiffened, insulted by gravity and his assistance in equal measure. Don't touch me, she hissed. Then don't fall, Jace said, then softened it with a smirk. Actually, no. Fall if you want. I'm just saying you're going to make it my problem, and I already have enough baggage. Soren's ears angled forward. Baggage? Jace glanced at her, pointedly. You know. Royalty. Expectations. Trauma. Fancy titles. Anything that comes with a tail. Her eyes narrowed. My tail is not baggage. Depends how much emotional weight it carries, Jace said. She stared at him like she wanted to bite him, and couldn't decide where to start. Jace crouched in front of her and hooked one arm back in a clear, blunt gesture. All right, Your Highness. Here's the deal. Your people don't carry the weak. I'm not your people. Soren recoiled. You expect me to climb onto you? I don't expect, Jace said. I'm offering. Big difference. Also, before you make it weird, this is called piggyback. It's not a mating ritual, a dominance ceremony, or whatever your culture does when it gets awkward. Soren's cheeks darkened under her fur. We do not. Cool, Jace said. Then we agree, nothing weird. Just survival. She hesitated, pride warring with pain, and pain winning by a landslide. Slowly, stiffly, she placed her hands on his shoulders and shifted her weight onto his back. She was lighter than she looked, which annoyed him because it meant she'd been starving or stressed or both. Still, the placement of her arms around his chest felt like he'd put on a very judgmental scarf. Jace stood, adjusting his stance until her weight balanced. Okay, he said. Royal cargo secured. I am not cargo. Soren snapped, breath hot near his ear. Jace stepped toward the hatch. Princess, everyone is cargo to someone. The difference is whether they label the box fragile. Soren went quiet again, and in that quiet, the storm outside seemed louder. At the hatch, Jace paused and looked back at the wrecked cockpit, the ruined controls, the blinking warnings, the small life he'd built out of deliveries and jokes and avoiding attachments. Then he looked forward at the deadly world and the injured princess on his back, who had been abandoned by a culture that worshipped strength so hard it forgot what strength was for. He exhaled. "Your people dropped you because you couldn't walk," he said, stepping out into the biting wind. "Humans?" He adjusted the straps of his pack, steadying her weight like it was the most normal thing in the universe. "We carry baggage for emotional reasons." The wind hit like a personal insult. Jace leaned into it, boots scraping against glassy rock that looked solid until it decided to betray him. The planet's surface shifted underfoot, a layer of crystal sand sliding over darker stone, each step a negotiation between traction and dignity. The storm mist clung low, damp and metallic, coating his mask in a film that tasted like he was licking a battery. On his back, Soren adjusted her grip. "Your gait is inefficient." "My gait is tired," Jace said. "There's a difference. You waste energy with every step. You waste oxygen critiquing it." He shot back. "Team effort." A gust shoved him sideways. He compensated, swearing quietly. The planet's gravity flickered in pockets, pulling harder near the jagged ridges like it had favorites. Jace angled toward higher ground, where the storm thinned just enough to see what was trying to kill him. Soren peered over his shoulder. "You choose the most hostile path." "I choose the path that won't flood," Jace said. "Low ground fills with venom fog here. Trust me. I read the brochure after we crashed." She clicked her tongue. "You humans always trust half knowledge." "Hey," he said, stepping over a vein of razor grass that hissed when the wind passed over it. "Half knowledge got us fire, flight, and extremely questionable reality shows." A sharp pain flared in his calf as he slipped, the crystal sand giving way. He caught himself on one knee, teeth grinding. Soren tightened her hold instinctively. "You are wounded now," she observed. "Don't get excited," Jace said. "It's just my dignity acting up." She shifted her weight, trying to lighten his load. "Set me down. I can rest." Jace pushed himself upright. "Nope. Resting here is how you'd get eaten by something with too many legs and not enough hobbies. Your exaggeration is illogical. Welcome to humanity," he said. "We exaggerate mundane suffering until it becomes motivational." The mist ahead rippled. Something moved within it. Low to the ground. Too smooth to be wind. Jace slowed, then stopped. He reached into his pack with one hand, fingers finding the flare tube by memory. "Hold tight." "I am holding," Soren said. "Unfortunately." The shape crept closer, a segmented silhouette sliding across the sand. Jace twisted the flare cap, muttering a quick apology to every fire safety poster he'd ignored. He struck it. Light bloomed, white-hot and loud, and he hurled it toward the movement. The creature hissed, a wet, offended sound, and recoiled into the mist. Jace exhaled. "See? Mundane problem. Mildly aggressive solution." Soren stared at him. "You confronted a predator with noise and light. Works on customers too," he said, resuming his climb. "Different species, same fear of being noticed." Her tail flicked against his side. "Your species is absurd." "Accurate," he said. "But we're absurdly persistent." The terrain rose into jagged shelves. Jace zigzagged, choosing footholds that wouldn't slice his boots open. The strain crept into his shoulders, a slow burn he'd learned to file under. Future pain. He adjusted the strap across his chest, redistributing the weight of the pack and the princess, mentally cursing whoever designed gravity to be such a jealous partner. Soren shifted again. "You are carrying me incorrectly. Please enlighten me," Jace said. "I've only had one royal riding lesson, and the instructor was on fire." She leaned forward, demonstrating with her arms. "Your load is unbalanced. The center of mass is currently insulting me," Jace said. "I'll file a complaint with physics." Despite herself, a short breath escaped her that might have been a laugh if she'd allowed. it to exist. They crested a shelf and paused in a narrow lee between two black spires. The wind cut down to a sharp whisper. Jace leaned against the rock, heart thudding like it was late for a meeting. Soren spoke quietly. Your endurance is unexpected. Don't flatter me, he said. I'm fueled by stubbornness and regret. It's a renewable resource. You carry weight as if you are accustomed to it. Jace rolled his shoulders, wincing. Occupational hazard. Cargo work. Emotional carry-on. Same muscle group. She angled her head. Emotional carry-on. Yeah, he said. You know. Stuff you didn't pack but somehow still have to haul around. Her ears tilted forward. Explain. Jace considered the storm beyond their shelter, the way it chewed at the world like it was bored. Humans collect debts. Promises. Guilt. We say we're traveling light, then wonder why we're tired. You choose this burden, Soren said. Sometimes, Jace replied. Sometimes it chooses us. Like royalty in the cargo hold. She bristled. I am not. Baggage? Jace finished. Relax. You're premium class. Comes with legroom and unreasonable expectations. She glared, then sighed, the sound tight with pain. My people would say you weaken yourself by carrying what is not yours. And my people would say you get stronger by carrying what you care about, Jace said. Different training manuals. They moved again, the path narrowing into a slanted bridge of rock over a shallow ravine where mist pooled thick and luminous. The glow made it look like the planet was hiding secrets in its lungs. Halfway across, the gravity tugged harder. Jace's steps slowed, thighs burning. Your pace is failing, Soren said. Yeah, he said. I'm hitting my why did I skip leg day for the last decade phase. Set me down, she insisted. You will fall. Jace shook his head. If I fall, we both fall. If I stop, we both die. I like my odds moving. You are irrational, she said. Extremely, he agreed. It's our brand. A sharp tremor ran through the rock. The bridge shuddered. Pebbles skittered into the glowing fog below, vanishing with tiny, final splashes. Jace sped up, boots scraping. Okay. They reached the far side as the tremor subsided. Jace stumbled into the rock face, catching himself with a grunt. He pressed his forehead to the cool stone for a second, breath loud in his mask. Soren's grip tightened. You are in pain. Breaking news, Jace said. Man carrying royalty across Death World experiences discomfort. She was quiet for a moment. Then, awkwardly, she reached into her sleeve and produced a small, sleek injector. This will reduce inflammation. Jace eyed it. Is it going to make me grow fur or pledge loyalty to your house? No, she said. It will make you less foolishly brave. Pass, he said, then paused at her look. Fine. But if I start barking at moons, that's on you. She pressed the injector to his shoulder. A cool wash spread through the muscle, easing the burn to a manageable ache. Jace exhaled. Okay, that's annoyingly effective. Royal medicine, she said, pride flickering. We do not waste resources on the unfit. Jace started walking again. Funny. Humans waste resources on everyone. Even the unfit. Especially the unfit. We call it hope and then complain about the bill. The storm thinned as they climbed, revealing a stretch of broken plateau dotted with metallic shrubs that chimed when the wind brushed them. The sound was eerie and beautiful, like the planet was mocking them with music. Soren watched the chiming plants. This land sings for those who listen. Jace snorted. If it starts charging for tickets, I'm out. She studied his profile, the lines of fatigue and stubborn humor carved into his face. Why do you persist? Because stopping is a decision, Jace said. And I've made enough bad ones today. A sudden dart of movement streaked across the plateau. Another creature, smaller this time, skittered toward the chiming shrubs. Jace veered, putting distance between them and the thing, raising his flare again just in case. Soren's voice softened, almost reluctant. You risk yourself for me. A stranger. An alien. Royalty you mock. Jace shrugged, shifting her weight. I've carried worse than you. Her ears twitched. Explain. Student loans, he said. Also a grudge from a guy named Mark. Long story. She stared at the back of his head. Your species bonds to abstract burdens. Yep, Jace said. We put names on them, complain about them, and then keep carrying them anyway. It's like emotional strength training. They reached a shallow cave cut into the plateau wall, just wide enough to block the worst of the wind. Jace stepped inside and lowered himself to one knee, careful. He didn't set her down, just shifted so she could lean against the rock without bearing weight. 5-minute break, he said. Royal decree. Soren exhaled, tension easing from her shoulders. If my people could see this, they'd probably tell you to walk it off, Jace said. Mine would tell me I'm doing too much for someone who might never pay me back. And you? Jace looked out at the storm, then back at the fox-eared princess who had been dropped because she couldn't walk. Me? I'd tell myself to shut up and keep carrying. Soren's gaze lingered on him, something uncertain shifting behind the pride. Perhaps, strength is not only what one leaves behind. Jace smirked. Careful. You're about to catch a human belief. Those are hard to get rid of. She almost smiled. The plateau thinned into a jagged descent, and the wind sharpened with it, cutting across exposed skin like it had a grudge against warmth. Jace adjusted his mask seal and kept moving, the cave's brief mercy already fading from memory. The storm's rhythm changed up here, less roar, more hiss, like the planet was whispering bets on how long he'd last. Soren shifted on his back, her grip steadier now, her breathing more controlled. Your pace has improved. That's the medicine talking, Jace said. Don't let it go to my head. I'm emotionally fragile. She studied the landscape. My people would not have chosen this route. Your people would have chosen to not have an injured princess, Jace said. We're improvising. Her ears flattened. They chose survival. So am I, he replied. Just with accessories. The path narrowed between stone ribs that jutted like the remains of something enormous that had lost an argument with time. The gravity pockets tugged unpredictably, forcing Jace to widen his stance, timing his steps to the planet's mood swings. He breathed through it, counting in fours the way an old instructor had taught him when panic wanted a turn at the wheel. Soren watched him fight the terrain. Your strength is inefficient. Yeah, Jace said. We don't optimize for pretty. We optimize for still here. She went quiet, then asked, Why does your kind cling to the unfit? Jace didn't answer right away. He focused on the next foothold, then the next. The wind carried the faint chiming of the metallic shrubs below, like a distant audience. Because we used to be the unfit, he said finally. All of us. We were small, slow, bad at not getting eaten. We didn't outmuscle the world. We outlasted it. Together. Togetherness is inefficient, Soren said. Togetherness is insurance. Jay shot back. You pay into it, and when the universe sets your house on fire, you get help instead of a pamphlet. She frowned. My people say carrying the weak teaches weakness. Mine say abandoning the weak teaches cruelty, Jace replied. And cruelty is a bad long-term investment. It compounds. A tremor rippled through the stone ribs. Pebbles rained down the slope, ticking off Jace's boots. He picked up speed, angling toward a ridge that offered higher ground and clearer sight lines. The mist thinned there, revealing a distant sprawl of broken spires and a vein of luminous fog snaking through the lowlands like a wound that refused to close. Movement flickered along the fog's edge. Larger than before. The predator he'd scared earlier, or its bigger, angrier cousin. Jace muttered. Of course. Soren followed his gaze. That creature hunts by scent and vibration. Great, Jace said. Two of my strongest features. He veered toward a cluster of metallic shrubs, then stopped short. The chimes grew louder as the wind brushed them, a shimmering wall of sound. He tore a ration wrapper into strips and tossed them into the shrubs. The chiming spiked, dissonant, echoing across the ridge. The predator turned toward the noise, distracted. Jace moved, quick and quiet, hugging the ridge's shadow. See? Unexpected problem solving. We make messes and call them plans. Soren's grip tightened. Your solutions are inelegant. They work, he said. Elegance is a luxury item. They cleared the ridge and descended into a windless pocket. The air here was warmer, stale with mineral tang. Jace's legs shook, fatigue finally collecting its due. He slowed, then stopped, bracing one hand against the rock. Break? Soren asked, cautious. Micro break, Jace said. 30 seconds. I'll spend it negotiating with my thighs. She shifted, careful not to worsen his balance. You continue despite exhaustion. Humans do a lot of dumb things despite exhaustion, Jace said. We write emails. We have kids. We rescue royalty. She angled her head. Is that humor? Barely, he said. They moved again, threading through the stone ribs into a wider basin where the ground sloped gently upward toward a jagged skyline. The storm rolled overhead in slow waves now, distant thunder muttering like a tired god. Soren spoke softly. My people would say your behavior is weakness masquerading as virtue. Jace didn't slow. And my people would say your behavior is fear masquerading as strength. Her tail went still. Fear is prudent. Fear is information, Jace said. It's what you do with it that counts. You can let it pick your path, or you can carry it and walk anyway. She was quiet for several steps. Then, unexpectedly, she adjusted her posture, easing the load on his shoulders. Your pack strap is biting your collarbone. Jace blinked. You noticed? I am not blind, she said. Nor helpless. Careful, he said. You're about to get demoted from royal cargo to helpful passenger. She huffed. Your words diminish me. Good, Jace said. Equality is a demotion from everyone's ego. They reached a narrow shelf overlooking a ravine where luminous fog pooled thick as milk. The predator's silhouette moved below, slow and patient. Jace crouched and waited for it to drift away, the muscles in his legs trembling. Soren watched the creature, then glanced at Jace's clenched jaw. If you fall, you will die. Yep. If you drop me, you may survive. Also yep. Then why do you not drop me? Jace swallowed, the answer arriving heavy and simple. Because I decided you're not a package. You're a person. Her breath caught. It was subtle, but he felt it against his neck. My people would say you are foolish, she said. My people would say I'm being a decent idiot, Jace replied. We have a proud tradition of that. The predator drifted out of sight. Jace rose and crossed the shelf, careful and slow. The ravine's edge crumbled in places, forcing him to test each step before committing. His knee protested, then gave into stubborn motion. Soren shifted again, then did something unexpected. She reached into her sash and produced a thin, flexible strip of fabric with subtle reinforcement threads. She looped it around his chest and her forearm, creating a stabilizing tether. This will distribute my weight, she said. And if you slip, I can counterbalance. Jace glanced at the makeshift harness. Look at that. Teamwork. My favorite accidental invention. She stiffened. Do not misinterpret. This is tactical. Sure, he said. And my jokes are educational. They climbed toward the skyline, the ground angling steeper. The storm's edge frayed, letting slivers of pale light through. Jace felt the burn return to his shoulders, but it was dulled now, manageable. He breathed with the steps, found a rhythm that carried them both. Soren spoke again, voice quieter, less sharp. If I return, my people will question my worth. People question worth all the time, Jace said. Humans question it when someone can't work, can't produce, can't keep up. Then we pretend it's about efficiency. And you? She asked. I question it when I look in a mirror, he said. Then I pick something heavy and carry it until the question shuts up. She absorbed that, her grip steady, her posture less rigid. Perhaps, weakness is not the absence of strength. Careful, Jace said. You're rewriting doctrine. Perhaps strength is the choice to remain, she countered. Jace smiled despite the ache. Okay, that one's good. I'm stealing it. They reached a shelf where the wind thinned to a whisper and the world opened out. Broken spires, winding fog, the storm retreating in slow curls. Far off, a flicker of light pulsed irregularly. Jace squinted. That's my beacon. Soren leaned forward, ears pricking. It functions. Don't get too excited, Jace said. It's probably working out of spite. The flicker brightened, then dimmed, then steadied. Relief hit him like a delayed wave, softening his shoulders. Soren's voice dropped. If they come, my people will see you carried me. Yep, Jace said. Front row seats to a human bad habit. They will judge you. They can get in line, Jace replied. Humans have been judged by worse. They started toward the light, the last stretch demanding and steep. Jace's breath rasped, but he didn't slow. Soren adjusted the tether, helping him keep balance, her weight no longer a simple burden but a shared effort. The wind picked up again, but it didn't push them back this time. The light grew steadier as they climbed, a stubborn pulse against the thinning storm, like the beacon had decided to be useful out of pure contrariness. Jace angled toward it, boots finding grip where the rock still pretended to be trustworthy. The wind roared back with a last burst of protest, flinging grit against his mask. He hunched into it, shoulders tight, legs burning, breath loud and honest in his ears. Soren leaned closer, her voice low. The storm strengthens as we near the ridge. The updrafts will unbalance you. Perfect, Jace said. I love it when the planet saves its worst for the finale. The ground pitched steeply. He shortened his steps, planting each foot with care, feeling the gravity pockets tug at his knees like invisible hands trying to trip him for sport. The beacon's glow flickered brighter ahead, reflecting off jagged stone that rose like broken teeth. The air thinned, metallic and cold. A sudden gust slammed into them from the side. Jay staggered, heels skidding. He threw his free hand out, fingers scraping rock, finding purchase by sheer luck and stubborn refusal. Soren tightened the tether, counterbalancing with her weight. Do not fall, she said, voice sharp with fear. Solid advice, Jace grunted. Wish I'd thought of it. The gust died, leaving a hush that felt like the planet holding its breath. Jace steadied, then continued, muscles trembling as the incline steepened into a narrow ramp of stone. The beacon's casing came into view, half buried, antenna bent but alive, its light strobing through a crack in the casing. Jace reached it and knelt, bracing one knee against the rock. He popped the casing with a multi-tool and jiggled the antenna until the signal steadied into a clean pulse. There, he said. Told you. Violence and encouragement. Soren exhaled, the sound unsteady. My people will receive the signal. Good, Jace said. I'm fresh out of heroic energy. The ground trembled beneath them, deeper this time, a rolling shudder that rattled pebbles into the ravine. The storm's edge collapsed inward, a wall of wind and grit rushing up the slope like the planet had changed its mind about letting them leave. Jace's grip tightened on the rock. Okay. That's new. The ramp began to crumble at the edges. The gravity pockets surged, tugging harder, dragging at his boots as if the world wanted to reclaim him personally. Soren's voice cut through the wind. Set me down. You must run. Jace laughed once, breathless and a little wild. Princess, if I could run, I wouldn't be in this job. Your survival probability increases without me, she said, too controlled, too practiced. This is the correct choice. Your people's correct choice. Jace shot back. Not mine. The stone under his foot sheared. He lurched, knee slamming down, pain flashing bright and clean. Soren's weight shifted, the tether snapped taut. He dug his fingers into a crack, knuckles scraping raw. Let go of me. she said. You are weakening yourself. Jace gritted his teeth and pushed, dragging them both another half step up the ramp. Funny thing about humans, we're really bad at dropping things we've decided matter. The wind roared, flinging grit into his mask. He turned his head, coughing, eyes stinging. The ramp fractured further, a chunk breaking away and tumbling into the fog below with a hollow, final sound. Soren's hands shook on his shoulders. If you carry me, you will fall. Maybe, Jace said. But if I drop you, I'll live with it. That's heavier. She went still at that, breath hitching. You carry guilt. Like a professional, he said, forcing another step. We make it look easy. It's not. The ramp ended in a narrow shelf of stone just wide enough for them to stand. Jace hauled himself up, chest heaving, legs screaming. The storm slammed into the cliff face behind them, scattering debris into the ravine. The shelf shuddered but held. Jace sagged against the rock, the tether between them taut. He laughed weakly. Okay. That was rude. Soren pressed her forehead against the back of his helmet, the contact light but deliberate. My people would call you reckless. Your people sound like they'd hate our holidays, Jace said. We invite everyone. Even the relatives who start arguments. The beacon's light pulsed steady now, bright enough to cut through the storm. In the distance, a darker shape emerged from the cloud, angular, metallic, unmistakably a retrieval craft cutting its way through the wind. Soren's ears lifted. They have come. Good, Jace said, relief loosening something in his chest he hadn't noticed was clenched. I was running out of motivational speeches. The craft descended, thrusters roaring, stabilizers flaring to fight the turbulent air. Figures moved within the cockpit, silhouettes sharp with urgency. The ramp extended, locking into the shelf with a heavy clang. Soren straightened on Jace's back, pride reassembling itself out of habit. The hatch opened. 2 Vulpine scouts stepped out, sleek armor catching the beacon's light. Their eyes went immediately to Soren, then to Jace, who stood there breathing hard, mud-smeared, stubbornly upright with royalty on his back. The scouts froze. Soren spoke first, her voice carrying over the wind. Lower your weapons. He is not my captor. Their ears twitched in confusion. One scout glanced at Jace's grip on the tether. Why does the human bear your weight? Because, Soren said, the words steady despite the storm. He chose to. The scouts exchanged a look, cultural alarms ringing behind their eyes. You were injured. The protocol. The protocol abandons the weak. Soren cut in. This human does not. Jace shifted, wincing. For the record, I also abandon protocols. They're bad for my schedule. The scouts stared at him like he'd spoken heresy in comfortable shoes. Soren continued, her voice calm and sharp. He carried me across terrain that would have taken my life. He did not claim me. He did not leave me. He did not bargain. He remained. One scout's tail lashed. He weakens himself. Soren turned her head, eyes bright. He strengthened me. Silence settled, heavy and unsettled. The storm battered the cliff, but the words hung there, refusing to be blown away. Jace cleared his throat. If this is a trial, can we do it inside? I'm very cold, and my knees are filing formal complaints. The scout nearest them hesitated, then stepped forward and extended a hand to Soren. She did not take it immediately. She looked down at Jace, then made a small, deliberate choice. She loosened the tether and slid down, standing on her own, weight tentative but real. Jace exhaled as her weight lifted, the sudden lightness almost dizzying. There you go, he said. Royalty on its feet. Proud of you. Soren steadied herself, then turned to the scouts. He is not cargo, she said. Nor am I baggage. Remember that. The scouts bowed, their confusion still visible, their doctrine bending under the strain of a simple act they hadn't accounted for. The craft's interior glowed warm and bright beyond the hatch. Medics rushed forward, hands hovering until Soren nodded permission. They guided her inside. She paused at the threshold and looked back at Jace, who leaned on the rock, exhausted and grinning like he just finished a terrible workout. My people will speak of this, she said. They will not know how. Jace shrugged. They'll figure it out. Cultures are just habits with better PR. She studied him, something new in her eyes, respect that didn't need permission. You carried what others dropped. Yeah, Jace said. Humans are bad at letting go. She inclined her head, a gesture of royal acknowledgement stripped of ceremony. Strength, she said softly, is not only who you walk beside. It is who you carry when they cannot walk. Jace smiled. Told you that one was good. The hatch closed. The craft lifted, engines cutting through the storm. The beacon's light dimmed, its job done. Jace stood alone on the shelf for a moment, the wind finally easing as if the planet had lost interest in him now that the story was over. He turned back toward the long, brutal path he'd climbed, legs trembling, heart steady. He rolled his shoulders, feeling the phantom weight of what he'd carried, and started down toward the wreck, lighter in body, heavier in the only way that ever seemed to matter.